I had the problem of dealing with the broken off fastener in the steering rack casing where it's secured to the subframe. Options were remove the rack and try and extract the bolt, or drill it out, or drill it and helicoil it, or remove the rack, buy another rack, or try and drill it out with the rack in the car, or the one I settled on in the end was weld a nut to the end of the broken off stud, or bolt rather, and try and extract it that way. Well, that wasn't successful at all. There was 3 goes and they pretty much twisted straight off. So I thought, well, so then I got the welder and I put some weld directly on the end of the broken off bolt to raise it up a bit, because it was pretty much flush with the casting. And then I welded that bolt onto the end of the broken off bolt at right angles to it, thus, and then tapped it backwards and forwards for about 10-15 minutes, and it was beginning to loosen off. What the penetrating fluid I was putting on it and the heat of expanding and contracting this broken off bit, as you can see there's corrosion on there, so that was well and truly stark, and it gradually started to move. But then I kind of got a bit over enthusiastic and hit it too hard and broke it off, so I got another one, and I got another bolt out of my drawer and welded it on. As you can see, it's bent because I've been hitting it so much, but first 1 degree or 2 degrees, and 2 or 3 degrees, then a few degrees, and then gradually it was beginning to loosen off with lots of penetrating fluid, and working at it and not trying to hit it too hard was the secret. Anyway, in the end, this broke off. So by this time I'd managed to unscrew this a couple of threads, and enough weld was still left on there for me to put a pair of mole grips on there, you know, enough to get a bit of a purchase on it, because I'd put the weld away because it was aching to rain out here. So I thought, well, I don't want to have to go and get that again and put a load of PPE on. I don't like welding, you know, in my shirt sleeves. So anyway, I kept at it, and eventually I managed to unscrew it, which is a good option because the steering rack's still in the car, the threads are intact, the original threads. All I have to do now is just buy another bolt, and in future I won't waste my time trying to weld nuts onto the end. I'll just stick a bolt like that on at right angles, or maybe I'll just try not to break it off in the first place. If I would not been so kind of gung-ho, maybe I wouldn't have broken it in the first place. But anyway, we live and learn. Other remedial work that I've carried out on components for the Spider, and these 2 reinforcing pieces that go from the subframe to the body had a lot of surface corrosion on them, a bit dirty, so I've painted them. This is the radiator support bracket, which was very corroded, and I think would have rotted away if I had not rescued it, removed the rust, and then given it a good coating of chassis paint. I've painted the anti-roll bar, and I've painted the subframe, which is I'm quite pleased with that. That looks very nice. And when you look in the wheel arch and see that, as opposed to the rusty, filthy thing that was there before, because that took a lot of cleaning, I think that's going to look a lot nicer, and it's just a bit more satisfying. It doesn't physically make much difference. It was only surface corrosion, but you know, I just wanted to do a bit better job of it. If I'm going to take it out, it might as well be clean and nice when it goes back in. Another item, small item that needed attention, was the inboard CV joint on the differential side of the gearbox, which has the extension shaft. The boot was broken completely, and I think dirt has probably got in, so I've dismantled it. I completely degreased and cleaned, and then repacked the CV joint innards, I'm waiting for a new boot. That's on order. Then I'll reassemble that and that can go back in the car. But that shouldn't hold me back on doing a lot of the other jobs that I've got planned for today. The gearbox operating rods are now reconnected, the slave cylinder is in, the starter motor is on, the alternator is back in the car. I didn't necessarily have to remove that, but I did. The drive shafts are in both sides up to the intermediate shaft on the offside. I'm still waiting for the CV joint boot kit. The subframe is back in. That was a bit of a tangle because it's quite a heavy component to refit, and from this side you can see it a bit better. Looks much cleaner, much nicer. I'm waiting for bolts, new bolts for the steering rack. They've had to come from Italy. They're about £9 for the pair, including VAT. You can only buy them in twos, but I wanted to have the genuine thing back on the car. It didn't seem easy to obtain aftermarket ones that fit the bill. So this took me up to about 7 o'clock last night, and I was quite tired after that, particularly after fitting the subframe because it's damned heavy and a little bit awkward. Hopefully I'll be able to complete this in the next week or so. I do have to work on the engine. I'd like to change the timing belt, and I've got a variator rebuild kit. I need to rebuild the variator. I'll probably have to buy a spanner to remove that if I haven't got one. I'm not sure if I have or not. It's a special tool required. So fairly good progress thus far. It looks a lot better for fitting these new components or refreshed components, and I'm fairly pleased with that. So I'll see you on the next one.